Hi, I'm Todd Mostak, founder and CEO of MapD Technologies. It's a good question. So I feel we have a pretty ambitious product. It's a end-to-end GPU accelerated analytics platform, leveraging it both for the database side, the fast SQL, as well as visualization side. And we're even pushing a little bit into doing kind of end-to-end machine learning. So it requires a lot of different skill sets. In fact, our company is interesting in that we have one contingent of engineers who are kind of diehard back-end LLVM compiler guys, because we have a compiler engine where we take SQL and generate GPU machine code from it. On the other end, we have a whole visual analytics platform, so we have a bunch of guys who are deep in React. And somehow they still all love each other, but they speak very different languages sometimes. So I guess it's tough for us in that we have many different kind of functional specializations. We have to find the right talent for each, and make sure that they all live together and communicate harmoniously. And engineering is one of the hardest parts of building not just a product but an organization. Sure, obviously, okay. So scale is an interesting question. So part of me thinks scale from a kind of a technology perspective. And in that sense, our platform was really designed to meet scaling issues, and the fact that most people, to handle big data sets interactively, have to scale out to hundreds, if not thousands, of CPU nodes. Our solution, by scaling up first across multiple GPUs per node, we basically have these supercomputers in a box. We can use a dramatically smaller hardware footprint. So that's kind of one of our core raison d'etre of our business, is that you can run on what took you 1,000 nodes now takes you 5 or 6. So on the flip side, scaling a company is always an interesting endeavor. So I think at MapD we've reached our awkward adolescence where we're about 50 people. We took our Series B back in March. We'll probably be at 100 people by sometime next year. And it definitely changes things. I was, when we started the company, it was just a few of us, and I was in the trenches just programming with the guys every day. And moving forward, I'm often on the road, trying to close deals, the whole rigmarole. And it's definitely changed the dynamic. We have layers of, a little bit, not too much, but a little bit of layers of management. And so making sure that everybody is still happy and motivated and feels valuable is always a challenge. And I think it's a challenge at 50, and it's probably even more of a challenge at 500 or bigger. So that's something we're really focusing on right now. Also making sure that you, as you scale, when you're not, I feel like I myself am a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to hiring, really making sure, not just a technical fit, but a cultural fit as well. You have to be careful as you scale. You're not always in the room or a major part of some of the hiring decisions, and you have to be careful that you don't dilute your company's culture or technical expertise. Making sure you're keeping the bar high. That's always a challenge as well. Yeah, so I think we're just starting. I mean, I think at 50 people, that's still dramatically smaller than an organization of 500, much less 5,000. Everybody still basically knows each other, often quite well. And so I think that as you get bigger, you by necessity have to put processes in place to allow you. Even Google had to do this, right? I think at the beginning, they really tried to keep the organization flat, and eventually they had to put management layers in. I think the same thing is with any organization, and the sad thing is that often with that, an organization tends to move slower, right? There's more red tape, there's more barriers to communication, and I think the best orgs, and I look at examples of Twitter, Google, there's plenty of others, have been able to basically keep that agility of a small company even while they're scaling. So I'm probably I don't get to program as much as I used to or like to. And our backend is mostly in C++ with a kind of LLVM compiler, so it's very much still kind of object-oriented. That's just the paradigm that people work in. On the front end, however, we have a great front end team. They're building everything in React. I think that was a really good choice. And we have definitely some folks who are huge adherents to functional programming and keep the bar high there. And I definitely think it makes for a much nicer decoupled code base. But technically, I'm not actually an expert in that paradigm of programming. So, but I do know that the results are that it's just an more easily maintainable app when you don't have state mixed in with what you're doing. Yeah, I think it's just my early experiences so far. It's a great conference with great people. Everybody here is in some way an expert in what they do and brings a lot to the table. Technically, it doesn't have the BS of a lot of other conferences with there are vendors here, but it's mainly here for the participants. So I really like that. The talks are fascinating, right? So I think you get a technical depth of talk here that's much deeper than you do at most conferences, and you have the audience to appreciate it. It just seems like an amazing conference.